Hi, it's Luda here. Join me to listen, learn and reflect. In Conversation with Mothers Producers is a series of interviews with successful producers. All of them are mothers who combine their family commitments with the producing role. I would love to hear their stories about personal and professional journey and ask for advice for any emerging producers or other specialists who are planning to combine career and parenthood.
My son's name is Vincent.
Vincent.
He's now 25. I first found out that I was pregnant when I'd just been given the job of producing a telemovie called Baby Bath Massacre. So I kept it quiet because I just had this fear that maybe I would be deemed not to be as available or as good if I was pregnant back in the day. This is 25 years ago. And when I became a mother, I couldn't produce for the first year at least. I had a child who woke 6 times a night. Even when we went to sleeping school, he was still not a good sleeper. And the idea of taking on the responsibility of producing by myself was really hard. I did have to take work because my ex-husband was a writer and he didn't have work for a little bit and we needed money. So I filled in for a production manager who'd hurt her back, and the feature film was in pre-production. And I went in, but my ex-husband didn't cope so well with having the baby at home, even though I was expressing milk. So he would bring the baby in. The baby would come into the production office. I'd be breastfeeding. So we had a code where the person out the front would ring a bell if someone was coming in, so I could sort of become half decent. But, you know, it became very much a family affair. And in fact, the producer of that, Elisa Argenzio, and Daniel Schaff was in the office. They were just amazing. They were so kind and supportive and appreciative. It was actually a really good experience.
Looking back at the beginning of your parenthood journey, what do you think were your main challenges?
Because film productions don't work 9 to 5 or even 8 till 6, whatever I did, I had to be back to pick up my son at 6 o'clock from childcare. So that was the big barrier. Yeah, I've had 2 periods being a mother where I couldn't produce. And the first was those first years until Vincent was in school. And then the second one was as a teenager, because my son was a graffiti artist and in trouble with the police a lot. He has Asperger's. And so he just needed a full-on parent around. And I had a lot of interaction with the police and his schools and so forth. And it absolutely wasn't possible to produce. And I was scared all that time. And I was a bit resentful, if I'm really honest. I was watching people who didn't have children or didn't even have relationships, some of them, who were able to do a lot more than I could because they were able to really focus on developing projects. They were able to do all the travel to markets.
Did you feel that you have also benefits by being a mother and at the same time a producer?
I'm really proud of my son, and I wouldn't change a thing in a way. He's a wonderful human being, and he needed time. He needed parenting time, and you know, he didn't ask to come into the world. So that was my responsibility to do that. And it's been a lot of joy as well. So many pleasures seeing another little person learn about the world and not have to see their eyes opening up to it. It's wonderful. And every stage has been the stage I've liked the most about being a mum. Like even when he was a difficult teenager, the sense of humour of his, you know, graffiti crew was just fantastic. I used to love hearing 3-hour conversations about the zombie apocalypse and whether you'd be better going up to Mount Buller or staying in the city and getting into a high-rise tower. Like, you know, boys are great. As a single mum, I had to do extra hours. I had one instance where the boss at that time, he could be nice, but he wasn't someone that I was incredibly fond of. He made me do a timesheet, and he never saw really what people were doing, but so it was hurtful because somebody must have said to him, oh, I don't think Ros is really doing her share. And I'm a really hard worker, and I was working 3 days full on teaching with only 1 day for preparation. So I actually had more contact hours than any other staff member, but I was only employed 4 days a week. And there was a time when rentals were really hard to get in Melbourne, and I had to go out and look at houses. And it was a really desperate situation because, you know, I only had a couple of weeks before I had to leave the house that I'd been renting and had to find somewhere else. And so I was having to run off to look at places and then pick up Vinny from childcare and then work all night to prepare for the next day. And it was actually so stressful. And then somebody felt that I was being slack. And it was like, oh my God, I was working so hard. So that sort of thing was, in retrospect, something I could have gone to the union about. It was discrimination on the basis that I was a single mum and I had extra things that I had to take on in my family life there. And that was just not a fair thing. And nobody else had to do it. And it that really, really was hurtful. It really made me think that people were thinking I was a slacker because I was also a parent and didn't understand the sense of responsibility you have. As a person, you can grow as a parent. And not saying you don't grow when you're not a parent, of course, but saying it's a mechanism that does make you take responsibility, and it does teach you to be multi-talented, ambidextrous. You know, you can help someone build a Lego construction while you're trying to think through how you fix that scheduling issue. So yeah, I think I would never trade it, and I think it does teach you a lot of skills.
And also the capacity, I think, because sometimes even if you are tired, you still need to keep on doing something, no matter what, even if you feel exhausted.
I think that I always felt that my first responsibility was to my child. And that's very conflicting when you're a producer, because when you're a producer, you've got to have a real dedication to making sure that the production works. But I always felt that my child had to come first, and that I would be able to, if I worked hard enough, manage both of them. I've remembered a really bad day that I'd like to share. I was brought on to produce a advertising director's first short film. And we'd met in a boardroom or whatever at the advertising company. And then we had to go and see a location, and I picked him up in my car, which was just like a little family car, and it had the baby booster seat in the back. And I could just see him looking at it going, I'm getting in that? Oh my God. And at that moment, I thought, I think I'm going to be taken off the project, and or I'm going to lose this job. And I did. And they were very nice about it. The advertising producer said, look, we've decided that I'm going to produce it for him. And I think that day when he looked at my car and I realized that this snooty young advertising director was absolutely judging me for the fact that I had a baby booster in the car and that I didn't have a groovy car, I felt really humiliated. And it was, you know, not a good feeling to feel that you were going to be rejected for the fact that you were a mum. As a single mum, I just couldn't produce for initially about 5 years, and then really during my son's teenage years, another half dozen years. So to lose 10 years from your career is just means you're never going to catch up. I'm really fortunate. I've had wonderful film experiences, and I've got a wonderful son, and they're both really valuable to me. Yeah. I think producing and motherhood are actually really similar jobs. You've got to organize a whole lot of stuff. You have to schedule things, and things will go wrong, like regularly. You've got to be really patient. You've got to organize a team of people when you're producing, and when you're a mum, you're working in with childcare, with parents, with your partner, with other people's expectations. The jobs both train you up to be resilient and a good organizer and hardworking. Quality of just getting on with things. I was grappling with a child that wouldn't sleep, who didn't have neurotypical behaviour as a child. So he was seeing child psychologists, you know, in the first few years, trying to work out at that stage what it was, which was later diagnosed as Asperger's. So I didn't have a lot of confidence as a parent, and I think that probably affected my producing. I think that I probably lost confidence, if I'm honest about it. I think that I still loved at Film Victoria because I was with so many supportive people, and then later at VCA and with other parents in the teachers. I think that support at work was critical to me feeling okay as a parent, and then having a lot of confidence with my work there. My first advice to people who are planning to have children or who have children and are wanting to produce as well is to be kind, to not expect yourself to be perfect. The second would be to make sure that you get time off, because it's really easy when you're a producer to get sucked into the machinations of a production and just trying to make everything perfect and never stopping. And it's a trap, because if you do that and you don't get proper time off where you can recharge your brain, you just get tired. And as a parent, you're already getting tired naturally. I think that it's really important to rest and recover. Working in with your peers in a really clever, fair way is a good thing to do. And I think doing it in a set up way, not just an ad hoc way, I think that can be really valuable. It's really important not to feel guilty. You're doing a good job, and I'm sure you, Luda, are doing a good job with your child, and it's fine to not be with them 24 hours a day. They'll actually be better for it, and you'll be better for it.
And I will use this advice, definitely.